Hey guys, welcome to History Behind the Warrior, and today we're going to be talking about Balrog. Now, prior to his appearance in the Street Fighter series, Balrog had a very rough upbringing, living in poverty and having to fight on a daily basis. Because of this, Balrog resorted to boxing in order to train himself. Now, although he was extremely talented, he was actually banned from the sport. This was because he was known for being a very dirty boxer, having headbutted many of his opponents during the match, and even killed one of his opponents in the ring. Shadaloo recognized his lethality and instantly recruited him. Over time, Balrog proved himself, and eventually became Bison's chief enforcer. Now, a very large majority of the Street Fighter Alpha series is loosely canon, but due to Balrog not being too involved in the main story, this could actually be considered as canon. Now, Balrog has been assigned the mission of assassinating Birdie. Now, Balrog isn't actually given an explanation why he's assigned to kill Birdie, he just goes off anyway. And on his journey, actually kills one of Dhalsim's elephants, before he's finally able to track down Birdie. But Birdie is able to sway him to his side and tell him about the Psycho Driver. It's a one-of-a-kind energy source that Bison uses in order to become more powerful. Seeing that there's money to be made, Balrog would side with Birdie, but everything would not go to their plan, as Bison was defeated and the Psycho Drive was destroyed. Now, Bison does return during Street Fighter 2, in which Balrog rejoins the organization, but it is extremely short-lived, due to the fact that in the finals of the tournament, Bison is destroyed by Akuma, in which Balrog actually gains control of Shadaloo, and actually drives it deeper into the ground. Now, after Shadaloo's fall, Balrog would become a security guard, but would return back to the organization when Bison returned. Big surprise, but you didn't see that one coming. Now, Balrog is assigned the mission of protecting the dolls, but I guess due to Balrog being a bit of a knucklehead, he isn't really satisfied with this, and leaves his post wanting to pursue a get-rich-quick scheme. But as usual, Balrog's plans never really come to fruition. Now, during his ending in Street Fighter 4, he comes across a young bandaged boy, who's currently begging for help. At first, Balrog doesn't really care until he notices the shape of the Shadaloo symbol on his hand. Realizing that the boy could have some valuable information, he would kidnap him. He later asks the boy what he can do, but the boy reveals to him that he's in fact powerless. But Balrog is secretly convinced that the boy will be of use to him later, and takes him to be recruited into Shadaloo. Now, during the events of Street Fighter 5, Balrog finds out the true identity of the boy he has. F.A.N.G reveals that the boy's name is Ed and he's from a Sin laboratory, and Ed was created to be a body for Bison. Now, we find out in the story that Balrog really dislikes F.A.N.G, considering him more of a nuisance than an ally. Now, the two have a brief battle in the prologue story in which Balrog comes out on top, and Ed learns that he in fact has the ability to disintegrate things. Now, at this point in time, Balrog has grown rather tired of working with Shadaloo, and began travelling the world doing small jobs. And this would get him into contact with Urien, in which he'd be paid to fight and defeat Necalli. Now, after Balrog is victorious and he is paid, he begins reconsidering his options with working with Shadaloo. But might I also add, a large part of what I've talked about here is actually the prologue story of Street Fighter 5 A Shadow's Fall, and a lot of the prologue stories are kind of like loosely canon. So I take everything from him meeting Urien onwards with like a grain of salt. Now, during the events of A Shadow's Fall, Balrog is simply there as Shadaloo's muscle, and at the beginning of the story he's seen alongside Vega and F.A.N.G, in which F.A.N.G sets 2 Shadaloo soldiers on them just to impress Bison about what he can do. After they defeat the soldiers, they threaten F.A.N.G, but before anything can happen, Chun-Li and Guile would arrive, but the heroes are defeated by the members of Shadaloo, forcing them to retreat. Now, Balrog appears much later on in the story alongside with Ed, in which they want to take a chess piece away from Zangief for the Shadaloo project Operation Chains, which is basically supercharged Bison. Now, when Balrog fights Zangief, he is in fact defeated, but with the assistance of Ed, he is able to steal the chess piece. Now, during the invasion of the Shadaloo base, he confronts Ibuki and Armika, but he is defeated by both of them, resulting in the chess piece they had got earlier being stolen by them. Now, Balrog does appear during the end of the game, where he's seen leaving the Shadaloo base as it's falling apart, with Ed by his side, and it seems like he's now actually a free man, which I guess is quite good as open endings go, meaning that this character could possibly return in the future. And as it now seems like he has ties to the Illuminati, he could return in any games after Third Strike. And that's really it for Balrog, guys. I have to admit, I'm somewhat quite happy that I did this video and somewhat also quite disappointed with it, as the entire time Balrog kind of felt like a lackey and was simply there just to either get punched or punch something, but did develop some character during the end half of the games from Street Fighter 4 onwards, so it's a rather mixed bag for me. Now, here's some fun facts for you. In Japan, Balrog is actually called M.Bison, as he was inspired by professional boxer at the time Mike Tyson. Now, as the game was going to be transferred to the United States, Capcom feared that they'd be sued, and they'd actually switch around the villains' names, changing it from M.Bison to Balrog. Now I also want to let you guys know that tomorrow there's going to be a bit of a podcast and a bit of a review of the Shadows Fall DLC, as myself and True Underdog Gaming are going to be talking about the pros and cons that came with the story. Anyway guys, that's it for me, but hopefully you all enjoyed the video. Now as always guys, please comment, like, subscribe and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care and I will see you guys next time.
So you're putting together secret plans in a place like this? You rat. Heaven and earth tremble!